Mm-mm-mm. All right, are we live?
I'm sorry. And when we finish, I gotta go because I gotta get to.
We're here, people.
Good on this Tuesday.
Man, there's a lot going on, right? It's been a good week.
Definitely been a good week. Um, can't complain about nothing. You know
Not a
what I'm
thing.
saying?
Not a thing.
There's no reason to do that. So always look for the good.
Look for the good.
So what's some good? What's some good? I'm gonna ask you to start this.
I'm starting off this time. All right. Let's see. What's good that's happened? I got the easy one.
Go for it.
We officially launched.
What?
Right.
Yes, that was exciting.
We are officially official. You know, we've been doing a lot of work behind the scenes, but we are officially official. We launched on Friday virtually, Friday evening. You know, we got past all of our technical difficulties. It happens. You know, when you're doing stuff virtually, that stuff happens. Hey, it's all good. We work through it. Right? And it's something about it's like it's like when you officially launch, you've gotten over this like, all right, what is this going to be? This anxiety, this anticipation, and you feel like you can breathe. It's like now it's not like we can't say too much. Don't put this out. Don't say this. And now it's like, hey, we're here. We're here.
Donate that money.
Right. Yeah. So welcome y'all all to this is the Conscious Disruptors podcast with Oklahoma Black Pack. My name is Apollo Woods. See how we flowed that? See, we didn't even practice that. So what I need you all to do is share this video and subscribe to our website at oklahomablackpack.com, as well as hit that donate button because we need your financial support and your energy and effort to volunteer for these campaigns, voter education awareness campaigns that we are going to make sure that we get done. But we need y'all. We definitely need y'all. Okay.
It's not a job that you cannot help us with.
No. Okay. So now we got the intros out the way. So now it's back on you. Talk about something positive.
Let me tell y'all
something.
Yeah. And the funny thing is that my son has
been. They call you TT?
No, they call me Auntie Tanasha.
Oh, excuse me.
I know it sounds like a lot, right? And I would just be like, just call me Tanasha and that's fine. But my sister's all Auntie. So anyway. So the point of it is that my son has been the only grandchild for a long time. So now these are little ones. They're 5, 8, and 9. I think that's right. And 2 of their birthdays is this month on the 12th. And it's so cool because my nephew who was here first, then my niece comes off 4 or 5 years later, and they're sharing birthdays. This is an exciting time for me. So this is my good, okay? I'm putting out in the atmosphere for everybody to absorb. Children, our investment in our own, our investment in others. I told my nieces and my nephew that your birthday is a time for me to celebrate you, who you are, the beauty of you, and the way that you want to be celebrated. Right. And so they're growing up with this crazy aunt that's like, how do you want us to celebrate you this year? And I just said 5 years
ago. Question though. Mm-hmm. Do people really know how they want to be celebrated?
I don't think
because it wasn't like birthdays. Were not really a big deal,
really?
Right? Like for me, I know there are family members that really get into birthdays, but for me, it was kind of like, all right. I couldn't tell you if someone said, Apollo, how do you want to be celebrated? I'm like, and I think because for me, when I get my love language, it's not gifts.
It's not gifts, but you don't have to be celebrated with gifts. Right? This is a societal norm that we've made it out of. That it's just like for me, I enjoy receiving things, but I don't want just anything. Like the thought behind it, right?
Right.
And so some people, I enjoy books. Yeah. And some people be like, she don't want a book, I want a book.
Right.
And particularly if it's one that I've been, in
that case, in terms of that, but someone said, what do you want to do for your birthday? Or, hey, you got nominated for this thing. I'm kind of like, I don't really know what to do with that.
Right.
I feel kind of like it's weird. The spotlight's on me.
You, yeah.
And I'm like, but you're in the spotlight. It's just weird.
Everybody just don't know. But that's the opportunity of getting to know the person, right? So they're growing up. They're turning into the people, right? And so for me, knowing you now, I'd be like, Apollo, I got this opportunity for you. You like to cook and show off some of them skills.
Look here.
Your comfort level behind, it's just amazing.
Food is fun to me. Food is fun.
That's my point. So, somebody will come to you with something like that. It's up interest.
Right? Yeah, I like cast iron and Dutch ovens. Okay. But that's what's out there. Yeah, let's tailor off. So we are preparing for an upcoming city council election here in Oklahoma City, February 9th, 1 week from today. Mm-hmm. So if you have received your absentee ballot, one thing is that we learned from the presidential election, you don't have to stand in a line. Right. Even if there is a line, you don't have to stand in line. You just walk right to the election board and hand in your completed ballot. Please make sure that you got to read the instructions because there are like 5 or 6 different type of envelopes. Please make sure that you have a copy of For me, it's your copy of your driver's license and a copy of your voter registration card. If you have it.
Don't let that be the reason that you don't get it.
Absolutely. Right. If you don't have a copy of your voter registration card, you can definitely, I think banks are still doing notary. Yeah. Right. So there's some free notary services. Please do that, but make sure that you are getting out. And Tanasha is a notary. So free. Yeah, get all up in her DMs if you need something notarized. Right.
When we talk about something else, I don't know.
Yeah, your personal business. You got to pay for those fees, but for the purpose of voting, definitely make sure you get out to vote. And y'all, we are working to bring you more information outside of just the Oklahoma City area, Oklahoma County area. So if you are listening or you know someone that is Black and a candidate running for a position or considering an elected or appointed position, please send us a message. You can email us or you can send us a DM to our Facebook, through our social media accounts, because we want to know. We want to cover more than just where we are officed out of. We're based in Oklahoma City, but we are looking out for all Black Oklahomans across the entire state.
And that's an opportunity for me to plug right
Come on in there.
Because I am the chair / president. I think I'm going to start going with the whole president title rather than chair. But anyway, it's African.
Hold on, y'all. Let me hold on. Wait. Because your energy got a little different when we was like, I am chair, right? Your energy got a little different. You know what I'm saying? You started to blush a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Your brown started to turn into little reds. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm the chair. And what's the long organization name?
Okay, so first of all, it's African American Legislative Staff Coordinating Committee. I know it's long.
What's the abbreviation?
ALSCC.
Okay, when she would say that, like she would say it. So I'm like, what is all of these acronyms? What do they mean? Like, because you don't ever spell it out. You always say the long acronym.
Right. So we're working on that. We are a component of the national organization, which is National Black Caucus of State Legislators. And that's what makes this so key, because staff, people think of staff as administrative, really, but there are attorneys, staff members are attorneys. Those are the people that are looking up your statutes and making sure things are going in a legal way. We have executive directors of Black caucuses all over the US. So to the point of what Apollo was saying, y'all, if you have somebody running, hit us up and let us know, because we have some different initiatives that we would like to do.
Okay, so to that, I think even for me, I wasn't really sure the role that a person plays. Like when I go to someone's office and there's someone there, in my mind, forgive me, they're the receptionist.
Right? At least you didn't say secretary.
Well,
Don't go call anybody a secretary, please.
So that's what I assume, because normally you walk to a space, the person there is a receptionist. But really, they're not a receptionist. They're an important part of the legislators' information, business operations. So can you clarify the role that person, because I think it's important for folks to know that person is not a receptionist. This is a very important person you need to build relationships with as you're trying to connect with the legislator.
So here's the thing. In the Capitol, you have two chambers, right? We have the House and we have the Senate. In the House, those individuals who greet you when you come into the office are considered legislative assistants. And in the Senate, they're considered executive assistants. And I will just tell you all that in my office, I am chief of operations. No questions. But here's the thing. The component that we serve for those particular offices is that it's almost like gatekeeper, right? Function. Anything that you want, if you want to get to the legislator, bring your nice game, okay? Like, well, even if you're upset about something, Apollo, I want to know that you're upset, and I'm going to sit with you. But if you berate and all that, you're just giving me permission to put you in the lower category, right? So for everybody that goes in, greet that person with the most respect, because they're going to be the person handling majority of everything that you need until you want an actual meeting with the legislator themselves. So, I mean, that's it. From filing paper, from writing papers, from citations being written, from letters of recommendation, every single possible thing you could think of that you would go to your legislator for, that person sitting there greeting you and answering that phone and returning your calls is the individual that's getting that work done for you.
So if I said, you know what, there's been this pothole on my street, a regular thing, or the trees from the ice storm haven't been picked up yet. Is that something I can go to my legislator and voice my agitation or concern?
So first of all, that's a city issue.
Okay.
But we welcome, you calling us if you don't know where to go first, right? That's another thing we do. We will point you in the right direction.
Okay.
We don't just leave you hanging out there.
It's a resource.
Exactly, completely.
Okay. Because I just said in my head, I'm like, well, this is happening in this person's history. I'm going to them. But to be able to know that, yes, come to me. Right. But if it is a city or a county thing,
we will connect you.
Right.
We'll connect you with whomever it is. We will have already told them what the issue is.
Okay.
So you're not just going over there blindly. I did this yesterday. I gave a suggestion. And the person was getting ready to ask me, can I name drop you? And I was like, I'm sending a text message to them right now. So I already made the connection, so they knew what they were coming into. So yeah, we cool people. Just call, check us out.
Now, so now the current session is underway.
Is legislative session.
The 58th legislative session started Monday. Yesterday, right? So it's day 2. So, what's going on this side of Capitol Street?
Man, first of all, it's quiet. Okay. The COVID has changed our lives. It's unbelievable. We are in our offices. Everyone has on their doors, and I implore everyone who wants to come up to talk to their legislators, give the courtesy of a call and try to schedule the appointment. I understand some things happen in emergency, but what you're going to be greeted with is having to knock on the door. There's a sign on the door saying mask required. Right. And we're just asking people to be completely
interesting. So it's mask required to enter the office,
but not the building itself.
When I look at the building, or I'm looking at on the floor,
right, there's no mask mandate.
Yeah.
Right.
So what's up with the contradiction in that?
Well, the governor didn't make a mask mandate. The pro tem didn't make a mask mandate, or the Speaker of the House didn't make a mask mandate for it on the floor. What they're doing is making it not required, but highly recommended.
So it's what they would call what they call it.
I don't know.
When it's like when it's a lot of people in an event space, they call it something, a spreader. That's what they call it. Is that a spreader event?
A mass spreader or a super spreader.
Super spreader, that's what they call it. So when I see photos of our legislators on the floor, that's a spreader.
Some without, some with. And what we noticed yesterday in the state of the state, if you were able to see it, I don't know if you saw it, but
I saw Twitter.
Okay, so on the desk in the House, the desks are shared by two members, and they have a plexiglass now in the middle. But the plexiglass is like the height of, this right here. So if you stand and talk, you're just leaning over.
Well, no, the plexiglass represents this bubble that you're in. So, the germs, all that.
They just stop.
They stop on this side. They don't stop on that side.
So anyway, it's a lot, because some people just don't believe. Well, and I think this is a good segue to talk about the vaccine and what people think after they get it. So I was always concerned with the fact that when folk got COVID, and they came out and they got over it, and they were given plasma to help others. I'm immune. Are you? Then we find that people still could get it, right? And so I don't have to wear a mask. And then you saw across the country where people were having fights and stuff because they don't want to go in the store with the mask on. I already had it, or they didn't believe in it. Okay, so here we have the vaccine, the same vaccine, same issue with the vaccine. You get the vaccine. Oh, I'm immune. What we doing? Apollo, how are we supposed to handle this? Because what we know, per science, per Dr. Fauci and other people, that they're encouraging the mask to continue to be worn. They're encouraging us to continue to practice these hygienic ways, which we should have been doing in the first place. Not necessarily masks, but understanding that we're passing our own germs around by not washing our hands and sneezing into the air. Being more cognizant of your actions. That's what we're asking. Why is it so hard? I don't know, but what we're facing right now.
We have a hard time of holding ourselves to the standard that we expect others to follow.
What?
So, there are certain areas of the city where I know that they are anti-mask, right?
Okay.
Where it's like, good and well, when you walking into Target, that sign says it's required.
Exactly.
So I'm wearing my mask, but you looking at me almost like anticipation that I'm going to say something to you. Right. I'm not going to say nothing to you. I don't have to look. If you decide to not wear a mask, go ahead. I got enough things to overcome being a Black male. I'm worried about you not wearing a mask, waiting on me to say something. So it's interesting, but what I've noticed, it is starting to become more of a normal thing. Right. Where people are starting to be like, this is the society this is the world that we live in now. Wear it. Right. So you reflect back. I remember years ago, first time I started flying, you would see people on the planes wearing a mask, and I was like, that's ridiculous.
I never remember that.
And that's ridiculous. They got gloves on and they're wearing. I'm like, that is ridiculous. Now here it is, probably 20 years later. You're like, oh,
they were ready.
Got it, because that was a part of what they did. And I think for me, what it all comes down to is if someone's making a choice to keep themselves safe, it's their choice.
Right.
Respect the choice.
Exactly.
That's it.
Exactly. See, I think, just what you just described, I don't remember seeing people like that on the plane way back. But what I know is there's just some people who are really germaphobes. They're wiping down. That's just the way they are. And then there's some immunocompromised people that we didn't even know anything about. So I just think that it's a courtesy that we owe to one another. And
when you see that sign that says required, wear it. Because at the point where you don't, like you're making a conscious decision. Mm-hmm. I see the sign that says required, and I'm going to go in anyway and walk around like it's not a big deal, right? And I do appreciate those corporations and small businesses, especially that are trying to enforce it,
right?
And they're doing the best they can. But I do find it very strange that we have what I call super spreader box stores that are large employers that aren't following in line. So we're worried about a small business not able to keep up with masks or not wearing it the right way, but going into Walmart and Target or other box type stores and it's something different.
Exactly.
Yeah. So let's switch gears off to COVID because we always have a lot to talk about, and this time goes by real fast, right? Mm-hmm. So, Auntie Tanasha.
Yes.
Miss TT.
That's I.
What's something on the national news in terms of politics or trends that's caught your attention that you want to talk about?
I don't have a good one for you, I don't think.
Or we can talk about the Constitution.
I mean, we could do that, but I do want to say this. I received a notice yesterday from one of our members of AALSCC that
long name.
State of emergency out east, how they're getting that barrage of snow, and they're in the house, like they don't have to report. And so just keeping up with the news as far as weather and stuff around the nation, how it affects even their legislative duties, because they're also in session. But okay, I just wanted to mention that because it's snowing. It's snowing massively out east. And there, I've heard they're attributing it to remember we used to say the El Nino, all the time, El Nino, this and that, but global warming. So that's a real thing. Like, I'm even tripping off of our weather here.
The weather is definitely the weather. That weather is definitely. So we have this city council election coming up in Oklahoma City.
You keep saying city council because it's also school board.
School board.
Yeah. Yep. And that's a pretty long slate of people who are running.
Right. So for some people, like specifically in, let's say, just in Oklahoma County, Oklahoma City, that some of your ballots may not have, like, I'm not able to vote for Ward 1.
Right.
Because I live in Ward 7.
Right.
But there are just Ward 1, Ward 3, and Ward
9, is it?
We'll find it. We'll verify that. So what are some of your thoughts about Ward 1? Because Ward 1 has probably 9 people on the ballot. We have Nana who is running. He is a longtime resident in Northwest Oklahoma City. Background as an attorney, as a lawyer. And so as our mission is in Black Pac is that we want to encourage more elected officials in that pipeline. You have any observations about the Ward 1 seat?
So this is my thing. I have to be completely honest here. I'm aware of this election. Okay. I wonder if some people can amen with me here. I'm aware of this election. I'm aware of the people who are on the slate. I don't know about that particular ward much. I don't even.
Do you think that's intentional? Do you think it's intentional that information is not being shared so freely to keep people from showing up?
No, I'm not here to be a conspiracy.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. You just said. You just said. You don't know much about it.
I don't know that it's intentional on behalf of people who are running in those particular wards? Or is it intentional on my part that I don't go look them up because I'm not in that ward? Well, that's not. I can't say that that's intentional. I think that what it is things that are in your purview, in your everyday. Those are the things that you take the time, if you're going to take some time to look up.
So if I'm trying to look up the information,
right?
Let's say school board. If I'm looking up school board, we can go to the school board site and see who is actually. We can see who's running, but there's no more information. How do I research? So how do I research a candidate when I don't see anything about the candidate? I don't see a bio, a background, a click to, or nothing. So I'm voting based on a name. Right.
So I would recommend not going to school board to find the candidates. I would go to the election board.
Okay.
Because they always list the candidates. They have candidate filings. They have all of the information when they file. Okay. They don't necessarily put the bios out, and that's when it gets a little bit difficult. Because if the candidate who I want to run for office, well, that means that you want to put your information out.
Okay.
Tanasha's line of thinking is this.
Okay.
The way I think of it, it shouldn't be that daggum hard for me to figure out where you are and what your platform is. Why do you think you're good for running? And if they haven't reached out to other leaders that's already in elected positions, they're not ready again. Because this thing is not just about you running for a position. Y'all, and Paula, I don't know how you feel, but all of this stuff is connected some type of way. We all work together some type of way. Even from the tax commission, the person that enters your taxes, we all work together. And so it's good to have a good working relationship. So imagine running for office and you come into an office and look at the person that's at the front desk like they're a nobody or something like that because you want to see the senator or the House member. What are your chances in the community from how you greeted that person? What are they going to say?
So I just looked up the candidate filings, right?
Gave you time.
Gave you time. So we have Ward 1, 3, and 4 in Oklahoma City.
Okay.
So Ward 1 has 10 people.
Look at that.
Right? 10.
Yeah, I know.
And there was some controversy with one of the aspiring council persons with their lack of voting history, if they want to run. And it was alleged that they attended the insurrection. Now, so we have other on the ballot too. So City of War Acres, you have Edmond Public Schools, Oklahoma City Public Schools, you have board chairperson elections from Charles Henry, Wilfredo Santos Rivera, and Paula M. Lewis, who are running for board chair. I'll give Charles Henry some kudos here because versus the last elections, I've actually seen his signs on the neighborhoods around. So that's a good sign for me that you're being intentional and creating awareness about who you are. That should jog your memory to want to know more. Now, would I like for our candidates to provide more information and background? Yes, because not everybody's going to dig deep in research. You got to think about the person that make it easy for me to vote for you. And those people who are like, I'm going to do my due diligence to dig a bit deeper. So I would like for them to have more information out there. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I don't know what is it officially official to be able to say this is the post-Trump era?
Yes.
Okay.
Although we're still going through impeachment trials,
and Twitter's been quiet. I'll be honest. I am excited there's change, but it's also just different because the last 4 years there's been so much drama and toxicity out on the web, and now it's like birds chirping and dogs barking.
Interesting you say that because the Black media persons that we've been working with was talking about that before it even occurred. You know, even though the journalists are like, man, I'll be able to rest a bit, they knew that it was gonna get a little bit boring not, I mean, I say the word boring, but just now you have to be a journalist again.
Right.
It's not being tweeted out there for you to just grab onto. And, there's not things that's just being done every day that everybody has a barrage of information.
So now we're also in day 2 of Black History Month. Right.
Yeah.
And I'm excited about Black History Month also because this is OKC Black Restaurant Weeks or celebrate Black-owned restaurants, but it's already starting with the whole Black this and Black that, and why do we have a Black History Month, and why are we singling out people? Why are we doing that? Right? It's 2021. I had an interesting conversation with someone that I definitely respect. It was a good conversation. This person was not white, and not African American either. And they asked a very innocent question. Why is there, we end up talking about the PAC briefly. Why is there a Black PAC? It should be a PAC for everyone. And she asked, do you allow non-Black people to join the PAC? And I said, well, we don't have any membership clauses that says that you have to be of African descent. And I had to break it down to her on why it's still relevant today of having our own. Because we're not too far removed from Jim Crow, the beginning of Jim Crow.
Right.
70 plus years ago, we had separate water fountains. Right. We still see policies that implicate segregation. Right. We look at purchasing houses. You look at the culture of some communities and the deeds in 1950s, which is not long ago.
Black folks out.
You could not live in certain communities. So we had to really talk about why it's still important for us. But I also thought it was interesting that she shared that her community doesn't have a specific PAC or civic group that's advocating and fighting for them. So from my purview, we being disruptive, I said, it's different for you because you come from a family of immigrants. African people weren't immigrants. We were inventory. Right. But you benefited from the fight of our freedom. So it was an interesting dialogue that I think will continue. And I can tell it shined some light. Like it was like that bulb went off of, I didn't realize that the fight still exists today for you.
And that makes so much sense. I want to say, I'm so happy that you took the time to do some explaining, because sometimes, a lot of times, explaining is just not.
It can be exhausting.
Yes, I'm trying to do. Then on the other side of it, we do need to have some cross-cultural understanding, because that's what we're talking about. When we say we're better together, that means just that. And so you can't always, Tanasha, have this attitude about, y'all know the history.
but do you find it also fascinating that it's like for us, we always want to get to the root of things, because we have been taught and trained that you got to understand the why we do this, why you go to this grocery store, why you do this, why you travel this way. And you have other immigrant communities that are not operating like that.
Because we made it for them already. The strategy was already built.
So they're not necessarily thinking that. So this particular ethnic group or race of people as immigrants, had this connection to the SBA, right? Whereas they were more loan friendly to your group, but they were application biased, or they were loan biased to us, right? And I very rarely have conversations with other groups and they acknowledge that. And I even had someone made this comment too, said, well, are you working with other, like, for example, the Asian community? And I said, of course. I said, but the question really becomes, will they let me sit at their table?
And that's it.
I think that's the difference. I think at times we, because of our history in America, that we have we play these social dynamics differently. But other ethnic groups are not always as welcoming for us being at the table.
Right. I do want to clarify, because I just said something very broad that we already created the strategies. So a lot of different things when other immigrant communities and cultures, they don't experience the things we've experienced. Right. We've had the fight though.
Right.
Like, and I just want to talk about civil rights. Period.
Yep.
That was a fight that was for everybody,
right.
And we were at the helm of it. But everybody else benefits, who also fell into that particular category. And as much as we last year celebrated it being 100 years for women to vote,
right.
I was again in my way, because I'm like, I get it. You help, we help. That's what we do. We believe in what it is, that initiative, that campaign. We believe, and we get out there and put boots to the ground. We work. And so, and of course, it's a celebratory moment, but again, we still have to give rise to me. We still have to give rise to the fact that, okay, it was 100 years, yes, for women to vote, but we still need to recognize this. And some people find issue with that. Why do y'all always have to bring Black people have to bring up the Black, white, the racial issue? Because it is, until it's not. And that's the only way that I can give that to you. It's just like talking about Black History Month being the shortest month of the year. It's been a crazy complaint, but we enjoy it, even though it's Black History all year. Right.
Yeah.
But we don't, be extra and show everything during the month of February.
I find it also disappointing when we talk about the media coverage of it. I have been very vocal in my disappointment of the media outlets, publications, and news stations who ignored requests on important topics about Black-owned businesses and communities. And now all of a sudden you have a media request in my inbox going into Black History Month. No.
Because what was wrong with last time?
Right. So now you want to let's talk about Black restaurants. Yeah, let's talk about it. Are you sure you want me to talk about it?
Right.
Because I'm not going to talk about who has the best whatever food.
Oh, exactly.
Right. I'm not. Yeah. So let's talk about it, because it's more than just the food itself. Right. And
we shouldn't be losing any restaurant.
No, we should not lose any restaurant. We shouldn't lose any restaurant, period. We should not. But the CARES Act money is going to run out. The generosity, the handouts are going to run out. We still got to get back to what's sustainable. How do we sustain our small businesses, our local businesses, because they hire more people, they pay local taxes, a direct benefit that dollar stays here, and so it's interconnected. Everything that part of our being is interconnected, because we once did not have this liberation, which we're still fighting for.
Okay, but see, even to that tune, you're talking about sustainability. So before COVID, restaurants were being opened, businesses were thriving, sustainability at that time was happening. It's the difference between now the customer, right? Everybody's money is funny, and it's trying to figure out if people are going to go out.
If you got the triple P and you went out there and balled out. I don't understand these people that get this money, $2 million, and you went and spent it on luxury items, and now you are facing charges of being arrested and in prison. I can't understand this.
Anybody in Oklahoma that did that? I think they're all outside of Oklahoma. Let's say that.
I hope so, right? You're getting caught. But here's what's most disappointing, though. This person got $2 million that they're blowing on luxury items. And I know businesses that they needed 60,000 and got 10,000. So what happens to the money when you confiscate it? Does it go back into a pool? Or is it like, oh, that money was kind of used, it's in the used money bucket over here?
Slate for something else all of a sudden. This makes me ask you a question. I heard yesterday, there was a young man, not in Oklahoma, but he filed his taxes. And I think he was supposed to get like $600 back. Are you familiar with this story? But the IRS sent him like $60,000. It was a lot of money. And I feel like I want to say million, but I don't have the right number. No, check this out. He called and told them, he called and said, listen, I got too much money. I was only supposed to get $600. He's a young person. the number 19 keeps sticking in my head, but maybe not that young, but he was a young person. The point is, he called, he notified, listen, this is not what I was supposed to get. You guys need to take this money. They wouldn't take the money back. Apparently, it was like, we don't see an issue on our end, so that's what you're supposed to get. So he donated the money to 3, not 1, but 3 nonprofits in his community. And now it's a problem. Now it is, because now IRS, it takes them a while to audit. You might be waiting 4-5 months before they even caught whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And now it's an issue. So the question on the table was, should this guy, he's a young person, his heart was good, he was honest. Y'all don't want to take the money. I'm not going to spend it frivolously. What you just say, luxury items. He didn't do that. He donated it to some people that need it. So should this man be punished as if he were a thief or helped out? Like whoever was talking about to set up a GoFundMe, people donate to him because he had a good heart.
Right, he had a good heart, but what the law say?
What does the law say? So, when I call you and tell you that this ain't my money.
That's why you have good attorneys and people that write legislation that, hey, this money they're going to execute or criminalize based on what the law says. So
I don't know that there's no law on it.
Well, he has money that wasn't his that went to in a good way, mm-hmm. right? So hopefully he gets good reputation.
I really hope so,
right? Because that is definitely unfortunate. But me.
Don't even go there.
So here's what happened to me, right? So in undergrad, I got my refund check.
Oh, here we go.
Right, so I got my refund check, but I got 2 refund checks. Yeah. So I was like, I got 2, it's the same amount, right? Uh-huh. And I was paying out-of-state tuition.
And we know
because
that's big,
right? And got deposited 1, and then probably a few months later, I got that invoice. Boop. That money didn't belong to you. Got to come back. Oh, that money was spent. That money was spent. Because I'm 21 years old.
Again, that's
right?
That's the point with the other guy being
right.
Young.
And so my thing is that they're gonna get that money back, right? One way or another, the money's gonna come back. Mm-hmm. So, but when you use that example, it reminded me of how many other policies, how much legislation is written with these loopholes that people are doing unfair time, or people are not being convicted.
Right.
Right. So we Terrence Crutch's situation.
Okay. That the officers in Atlanta that pulled, I don't know if you saw this video where they pulled this young lady out of the car. Mm-hmm. Apparently they lost their job because they did all this stuff wrong, but this morning were exonerated of all charges, got their jobs back.
What?
Well, my question, I want to know what was the final verdict, of this investigation. What made you believe all of a sudden that now they did everything right?
Right.
And then I'll bring this up. I know that Representative Goodwin is running some bills around holding officers accountable. Just we need some more accountability. But humanitarianism is the problem. We are suffering in humanity, and if we don't have, if everybody says, well, if I step in the little part of the water, then I won't be shocked as much as getting in the deep part and drowning, right? Everybody can't be in the shallow, is my point. If you do the same thing, then everybody's punishment should be the same way. It shouldn't be one for Black folk, one for white folk, one for Indian. It shouldn't Native. It shouldn't be any of that. It should be.
I think there's universal law in terms of like environment, but in terms of policy. That's why it's important that we are paying attention to how laws are written, because in our head, it's like, oh man, that's murder, or that's this and this. Mm-hmm. But when you look at what a jury has to go based on, like I can't do nothing but go based on this, right? Mm-hmm. And based on how it is in a county or a state, this is it.
Well, it's also how the litigator litigates.
Yep.
Okay. So if you know that it's okay, one of our own, Representative Lowe, one of his people was exonerated in a trial here recently that was put out on Facebook. And this is the thing: he was defending this person. If the defense attorney is much better together and able to present a better case than the prosecuting attorney, the jury is dealing with the presentation. What they have, and I'm not an expert on law or anything like that, but the point is that we know if we were, have you been on jury? I no. Wanted to be, I've been called a couple of times.
I got called once, and then I think what they do, they dismissed the case. I was like, well, I got a day off to it. No, I didn't.
Oh, you only got, so they kept me coming for 3 days for me to sit in this room and never be called for a case. So I was super sad about it. So I've yet to be able to serve on a jury. But the point is that, you get in there, you're a regular individual, right, and you have to know your biases. Right. And it's not a perfect situation. Right. So I'm just saying, I think that it's going to be good to have some legislation that's around accountability. I don't know if you know about this other one. I don't know if it's Ohio or Iowa, but they are pushing legislation on, listen to this, decriminalizing all drugs. Decriminalize all drugs, and it's they want them to go to what is it? They want them to go to therapy as opposed to prison. I get it.
Ohio?
I don't remember if it's Ohio or Iowa. Let me see if I can pull it up. But the point is decriminalizing all drugs. Let's just talk about that for a second. I do want people to get therapy. Some people have addictive personalities that just end up in situations. Mm-hmm. But I think that there needs to be some type of repercussion to make you think that I don't want to do this. I just do, because we're humans. We just do. People are going to do drugs.
I think it sounds like the intent is to try not to make rehabilitation punitive. That's what it sounds like. But at the same time, so you want to decriminalize all. This is what it feels like to me. You want to decriminalize all drugs, but have you decriminalized marijuana? Because when my experience, when you throw everything into the bucket, when you put everything in it, it's going to be all or nothing. Because if they don't like one thing that doesn't pass, the whole thing gets scrapped.
So what I want to do is give a little bit more into this, and I agree with that. Because as I look at this, it's more they decriminalize the drugs, elimination of criminal penalties for drug use and possession. It still goes back to what I'm saying. Right. Whomever it is, for whatever reason, they're still going to do it. Mm-hmm. I want you to get rehab. That's what it was, rehab instead of prison. Right. I want them to get rehab. And I also agree with you, making it less punitive. Right. At the same time, how many times does one have to go to rehab? They're still going to do it. You decriminalize it, they have no reason to say, I don't want.
But if the drug use has led to a criminal act, right? So if
it's saving oneself from oneself.
So if I'm popping these mollies, but I'm
go out here and steal,
but I'm doing donuts in the intersection, and then I mess around and hit a car, and someone loses their life,
right?
Like incarceration,
right.
But if you're a person that, on some circumstances where I've met people who were just predisposed to end up being a person that uses drugs, right? That person is I think it's for me, it's difficult to understand what do you do with a person that like let's take mental health. I know we only have about 8 minutes left, but let's say mental health. There are some people who in their family environment or based on their own person that they're susceptible to be more
genetically predisposed.
And I think there's this phobia put on it so if you are diagnosed as depressed or schizophrenic or bipolar, then there's no hope for you. No, there's not. So let's not treat it based on the stereotype and bias. Let's really treat it from if you were left-handed and living in the right-hand world, right?
Right.
So does a left-handed person have to be ostracized because they're left-handed and their penmanship looks different? No, they're a left-handed person and they require something different, right? But I think we have in this mind that it's supposed to be this way. The law is supposed to be that way, but it also doesn't take into account other factors for people. So they talk about food deserts.
Mm.
Food deserts is the only conversation when you talk about Black and brown communities. But if we are trending to be the third,
too.
Right? If we're trending to be the third hungriest state in the United States, Oklahoma is, then it's not a Black and brown issue.
No, far from it.
Right.
And it needs to be recognized.
Right.
And that conversation, it's not a conversation. It's just the words need to be said more.
Right.
That need to be recognized more so we can do something about it. I wanted to say real fast, talking about, you brought up the election that's happening next week. Or is that next week?
Yeah, next Tuesday.
People, we really need to think about what our qualities are as leaders. What we walk in, when we walk into particular doors, what it is that we're bringing to the table, and why somebody should even pay attention to what we are wanting to do. And that's a real question to ask oneself. As a Black woman, I know we are in this particular arena of, they're going to look at me and see Black first, right? Mm-hmm. But am I really bringing my A game? And this isn't to the tone of gotta be 10 times better, all that. Just recognizing your own worth and understanding why it is that you fit in this particular category of people or industry. And I bring this because, again, and I'm probably going to talk about her for the next few times until I finish her book, but the Stacey Abrams. The point is that some of the things that she talks about as she grew is these questions. And I know that I've posed them to myself. How do I want to present to be, what makes me, and I've asked this in a consulting situation, what makes your situation better than the next? So if you have a business, if you're offering something, why are you so much better than the ones we already have? And that's a real.
I've often heard this from folks running, that they have a passion to help.
Okay,
that's fine. Don't mean
show it though. Show it.
Right, but I'm saying, but just because you have a passion to help and serve doesn't mean that you should be running for office. Especially if your passion to help and serve, I can't see that in other areas to be able to connect the dots. Right. So just because you become, let's say you are elected, just because you become elected doesn't mean that you are capable and knowledgeable of changing a policy or process or procedure or mobilizing people to get behind that effort. Right.
Fundraiser, what type of awareness do you have about the community? And that's another part of the things that she was saying, because seeking out mentorship. What does that even look like for you? Are you the person that kind of you latch onto sometimes is not the best one to help you curate those things that you have inside, or even to bring it out?
Because you need multiple mentors. I don't think you just need one singular mentor. You need multiple, because you'll learn from many. Because what I often do is I look at, this is the platform that you said you're running on, and folks believed you and voted for you on that. In your time in office, I need to be able to connect the dots to what your platform is, to what your track record is.
Right.
I don't want to. I'm not voting for someone based on ambition. Show me. You got to show me where, if you are passionate about entrepreneurship. Well, show me at least a track record that is, you've invested time in helping people build businesses. You've consulted, you've taught, you've done some work. But just because you talked to your homeboy and told them to go to the Secretary of State's website and do this online form in 15 minutes, you got an LLC in 48 hours. That's not investing. That, to me, that's low level,
working.
Right? It's still working. So, into that, because we only have a few minutes left, is that when we're looking at who we're considering to vote for, even if information is not available, if you can't find enough information to make your decision to vote for or against them, pick up the phone and call them. Have them tell you directly. So you're saying you're going to do this. I need to know, even if you don't have.
How to call, because sometimes you run into that one number. Okay, you're going to have to call this person. Don't give up on the call. I guess that's what.
Yeah, you might get run around a little bit, but it's ask them the question straight up. And if it smells fishy, you have to say it. And that's just what I've done. It's like, all right, well, you're saying this, but I don't hear that. You're giving me this line, right? And if you're giving me a line, that is making it difficult for me to vote for you, because it feels like you're selling me something that you can't deliver. right? And it is difficult for constituents to believe that I voted for you for this, and you've had enough time to show at least the effort or the executability to do this, and I don't see it.
Well, and that's problematic when it's
problematic because now my accountability for you is a little different. I had grace and compassion. Now it's time to.
Well, and see, I want to roll back to grace and compassion because, first of all, if a person is elected and they say that these are the things they would like to get done during their tenure, then okay, if I'm calling you, hey, how's it going? Then you should be able to tell me some measurable steps that is happening. Because, like, a lot of times we get confused. Oh, they ran some legislation. Well, know where the legislation went. Don't come fussing at the legislator or even the whatever type of elected official it is. Find out how they pushed it. And then how can you help push it even more? We need teams, y'all. We need teams for different campaigns, letter writing, calling, just being a face, right?
So that's a good segue.
Yeah.
They can go to our website at oklahomablackpack.com and sign up as a volunteer.
Yeah.
We definitely have volunteer opportunities for you to get involved. This is not something we can do alone. We absolutely need more involvement across the community for the impact that we're going to make. You can also make a donation. We have some great donations from our launch on Friday, so we're ready to kickstart things and get things going. But I agree with you in respect that understand more, and then as you're understanding, you then realize, okay, this person either really is making the effort or not. So let me qualify my comment that for me, turning the heat up is going to be turning the heat up, whatever direction it's going.
Right.
But if a person you said this and you're not making the effort in this area, that's why that was important to me, then all right, the heat's going to be turned up. Either you do it or I'll be on the other side of that vote.
Or find another legislator or whomever that really wants to push that. I mean, it doesn't always have to come from elected, so I mean, our community efforts, they rise, right?
So we'll close on two things. One, we encourage you, if you have some desire to run for an elected position, start the process, engage it, find out what does it require? What is the time commitment? How do you balance?
What does it look like?
Yeah, what does it look like to be a person that's running for office? And you may have to have a job, which most, what I understand, have jobs and have families. How do you balance that? Because when you get in, there's going to be a lot of work to do and be a part. It might be 3 or 4 or 5 years down the road before you actually file and run. Right.
Have a plan.
Yeah, have a plan. We definitely need more people who are willing to run for an elected position.
Right.
And as we always do, as we close out the episode, Auntie TT.
What's that?
Closes out one of those inspirational quotes that I know you always.
I'm so ready with inspirational quotes. I was really trying to figure out a good one this time. That came from I love Maya Angelou. And so I'm just going to go with this because the one I picked was not right. But she told us, our auntie Maya, rest in peace. Okay. She told us when a person shows us who they are, to believe them.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's the best wrap up ever after the things you
That's called the gospel.
That's it.
That's called the gospel. Yeah, I'm not going to continue. So we've actually thought about this, y'all, as we wrap up. We've thought about, because we have so much in our heads that we want to talk about, to head on over to, we might try this, maybe not today.
Not today.
Go to like what do we call it, an aftermath? The aftermath conversation on our Instagram page. So please follow us. Right, the overflow. Because I got more things I want to talk about. We don't have that time. But please go to our social media pages and like us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter. You can go to our website and subscribe to get email newsletter updates. And you can also text Black Pack to 31996 to volunteer and make a donation today.
All right.
Right. That's all in our heads. But hey, y'all, thank you for joining us on this Tuesday for episode 3 of our Conscious Disruptors podcast with Oklahoma Black Pack. be safe, drive safe, be socially responsible.
Okay, wear a mask.
Right.
And wash your hands.
And do that too.
Okay.
And support Black-owned restaurants the entire month of February. Matter of fact,
And
beyond
March
February.
And April and June, July.
24/7, 365.
There you go. Go get that good food.
All right, good people. We will see y'all next time.
Happy Tuesday.